Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy.
All right, welcome back, book friends. How are we all doing? What did you guys do this weekend? So to start us off, I honestly didn't do much of anything this weekend. I got to read by the pool, which was nice. We had one good pool day. I don't know if I've mentioned, we've been having like the rainiest year I can remember.
Yeah.
It is uncommon to have this much rain this often, and it's also sporadic. So it's really dampening my pool vibe, but you know, I get out there when I can. What about you, Ethan?
Oh gosh. So I really didn't do much this weekend. What I did do though is try some new food. Always a fan of that.
Yeah.
And there is a little place in Fort Worth called The Pantry, but it's like Asian Latin fusion.
Oh, cool.
And it was delicious. I had a banh mi sandwich, but they served it on torta bread, and it was delicious. And I got little fried egg on top. And then there were also like barbacoa bao tacos.
Ooh, you're making me
and
hungry.
those, I know. Y'all, listen. I do enjoy some cheesecake. But they had, for dessert, they had cheesecake dumplings. And
Oh, that sounds good.
Those were so good. That's not something that I normally gravitate towards. I'm not a dessert person usually. Like, I don't like sweets all that much. But made an exception for these, and I'm so glad I did. Because you order dessert dumplings, and there's 4 to an order, and you can get 2 different flavors. And so I got candied bacon, because why not?
Right? Yeah.
And summer peaches. And they were just the most delicious things.
That sounds
and so
good.
It was so good. Cheesecake base for the dumpling, and then the toppings were like the peaches and the candied bacon. So good. Highly recommend if you're ever in Fort Worth. The Pantry.
Nice. How's the moving going?
Yeah, it's going.
How did I know that was going to be your response? How
As
did I
any
know?
move would.
It's fine. It's moving always seems to be like a hot summer affair. Like it's whenever, because I guess because you're moving around a lot and you're sweating your ass off. And so I don't know, whenever I picture moving, I always picture it like hot and miserable, and it's holding true.
It is. It is.
Last time I moved, it was in the middle of July, so that tracks.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like, why does
I
our
guess summer just makes the perfect time to move, I guess.
Yeah. I was gonna say, why does our
that's
contracts
true.
always end up in the summer? Like, ugh.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I'm right there with y'all. Like, I really didn't do anything this weekend. I actually slept basically the entire Saturday away. I wasn't feeling well, so I was just decided to sleep. But I have been reading. I mean, of course, we read The Hero of Ages, right? And very bleak. And then I've also been reading The Butcher's Masquerade, which is book 5 of DCC, also a little bleak. So I'm like, I need something happy after this, y'all. I need something with like a cute summer romance with a nice happy ending all tied together, because like I need something happy after reading these books.
Yeah.
I felt so bleak this morning. I was like, oh my God, what did I read this weekend? I'm glad that we're
That's fair.
also reading Game Changer, because like that's been helping kind of balance everything out.
That's kind of my palate cleanser for me currently as well, because I'm like so close to finishing Zodiac Academy, and it is brutal. And in the best way, though.
Give me all the emotional devastation, right?
Yeah.
Game Changer just
Exactly.
brings some levity to the situation.
It really does. Yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't really do much this weekend either, you guys. Getting ready for a work conference this week. So next week I will have a better update for y'all.
Okay, awesome. Well, before we jump into our episode, I am going to pass it off to Jen first to give us our quick little spoiler warning.
All right, you guys, before we get started today, quick spoiler warning. If you're listening to this episode, we're assuming that you have read the first 33 chapters, because there are going to be some major spoilers throughout our discussion today. Some major ones, you guys. So if you haven't had a chance to read the first part, then please be sure to go and finish those chapters and then come join us in our discussion. And, just a quick call out, if you've been loving our book chats, we would really, really appreciate it, you guys, if you could leave us Apple Podcasts. It helps more book lovers find us and keeps our little bookish community going. Please, we would love to hear what you think, and we would love to give you a quick shout out in our next episode.
Please. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start off with a quick summary, as always, of these chapters. So, after deliberately exposing their army to the mist, with the help of Norden's records, Vin and Elend make a startling discovery. Exactly 16% of the population becomes ill after exposure to the mist every single time. The consistency of this number suggests that what is happening isn't random at all. Later, Elend and his army arrive at Fadric City in search of the last of the Lord Ruler's storage caches. While Set advocates for military action, Elend remains committed to diplomacy, wanting to negotiate with the city's new ruler, Yeoman, who used to be an obligator. Vin begins investigating the city and learns that Yeoman is a devoted believer in the Lord Ruler, and that he mysteriously has an enormous amount of wealth that nobody knows where it comes from. This convinces Vin that the cache may contain the Lord Ruler's adium stash. Vin and Elend crash a ball in the city and begin laying the groundwork for their plans. In Urtu, guided by the voice of Kelsier, Spook escapes execution by discovering that he can somehow now burn pewter as well as tin. Through flashbacks, we also learn more about Spook's past, including how Clubs rescued him as a child and brought him into Kelsier's crew. Sazed and Breeze journey to Urtu and as representatives of Elend's empire. Along the way, Sazed visits the terrorist refugees at the pits of Hathsin, where they settled after being attacked by the Inquisitors. The remaining terrorist people ask him to stay with them as their leader, but he chose to continue his mission with Breeze, refusing to give up. Once in Urtu, Spook leads them to the storage cache, and they debate how to deal with Quellion, ultimately deciding that turning the people against him may be more effective than removing him by force. Meanwhile, TenSoon receives a visit from Milan while awaiting his sentencing in prison, and he learns that the mists are coming during the day and the ash is increasing, confirming that Ruin has returned. He manipulated his guards into returning his dog bones to wear to his sentencing, which gave him the opportunity to escape. So that's where we stand. So now we're going to get into basically the meat and potatoes of our episode, the discussion part. So just a reminder for our listeners, we like to do what we call a 3-2-1 structure. So each of us are going to share 3 things that stuck out to us from this section. And then we're going to share 2 emotionally impactful moments, and then 1 theory and or prediction, sometimes both. Yeah, we'll see what we come up with. Okay, Ethan, why don't you start us off?
Ooh, y'all, I am ready to dive in. Yeah. I am so ready.
Me too.
Listen, because I think I'm going to have several questions in all of my points, like pretty much all of my points.
Yeah. Same.
So, yeah. So toward the end of this section, these epigraphs are just dropping truth nuggets left and right, and I'm here for it. But here's my first question. Side note here, can we actually trust these epigraphs? I don't know. Ooh. Is this an unreliable narrator? Because they may be skewed or rewritten by Ruin. I feel like we've encountered that before. So, or am I overthinking? First, before I get into my first thought, like, what do y'all think about that?
The exact same thing. I was like, there's just like truth bombs in every single chapter, right? And it stopped being from the Lord Ruler's logbook or whatever, or from Rashek's logbook. It started becoming more of a retelling, and like somebody's retelling the story, because it talks about Elend a lot, So it's like whoever's POV the epigraph is coming from, like it's switched. So I thought the same thing. I actually thought the same. I wanted to like text y'all and be like, these are not written in steel, y'all. So what's going on here?
Or are they? Like, we don't know if they're how they're written.
Yeah. I was
or is it someone's thoughts?
Yeah. It could be somebody's thoughts because, you know, that's the only thing that's trustworthy, but we don't
True.
know. So I don't know. I'm on your side, Ethan. Like, I don't think you're overthinking this at all either.
And
What were
all
you
I
gonna
was
say,
going to
Steph?
say in response is like, this is just an example of how Brandon Sanderson makes you not trust him at all. So, and that's all I can really say.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is exactly how we
Fantastic.
feel,
Fair
right?
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's obviously purposeful, and you know, you will learn why.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know. I keep on hearing from multiple people that have read this series already that any question that you have will be answered by the end of this
Yep.
book. So
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and in the meantime, I have all the other questions. So these, if we are trusting these epigraphs, they mention the different forms of magic by name and who they are linked to, and the word balance is also mentioned, which is something that I've been harping on with the idea of like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So in this happened like towards the end of the section that one epigraph mentions allomancy. Allomancy is of preservation. And then the next epigraph in the next chapter, it mentions hemalurgy. Hemalurgy is of ruin. What do we make of this? Because in every sense of the word balance, the Lord Ruler tried to maintain it as much as possible. Even his subjects, he, in essence, kind of like recreated them to where there
Right.
would not be an imbalance of power. Like the noble it was clear like who the noblemen were and who the ska were based on how they looked. And
Yeah.
just over time and generations, they kind of muddled together. But yeah, like what do y'all make of that specific call out?
So at first I was like, oh, hey, this is like solidifying what Ethan was thinking about the two sides of the same coin thing. When I saw the balance thing, I'm like, this is exactly what he was talking about. And it also made me think about the metals, right? The different metals that is used for elemancy, like they have to have an opposite, right? Like
Right,
one
even
pushes,
within
one
allomancy, there's
pulls.
balance.
Yeah, yeah. So like I was thinking about that. I'm like, there's even balance in that where it's like this one does this and this one does the opposite. Because we were even thinking about like what is the opposite of adium, right? So like that's the only thing that it made me think of was like I know that there's two different metals that complement each other basically, and now we're looking that there's preservation and there's ruin, and so it's making me question everything now as well. And so this one kind of like the whole ruin and preservation thing I have as part of my theory, so I'll save those thoughts for later. But that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, okay, balance, you know, just exactly what Ethan was talking about, how everything has to have, you know, like its opposite or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points, you guys.
Love it. I feel like that's going to be her mantra from here on out. Great
Yeah.
points. That was a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that leads me into my next thought. All of my thoughts are kind of connected. So, y'all, the blessings of the kandra. Hello. Did we know, like, I feel like, yes, we've heard about TenSoon or Orsur when we thought it was Orsur, talk about the blessings of, like, potency or whatever. But did we actually know that it gave them power? Like, I feel like this is the first time, maybe just because we're getting more detail, but
yeah, I think this is the first time it's been like deliberately not even explained. He's just talking about it as if we already know. But yeah, this is the first time we learn about the different I guess, powers or blessings. Yeah.
I didn't know what it was either. When I was reading that, I'm like, did I miss a whole chapter or somewhere? Like, did I miss like a whole section? Like, what are they talking about? They're talking about it like if we know exactly what's happening. Because didn't what is TenSoon's friend Milan, whatever, Milan.
Yeah,
she talks about, you know, how TenSoon stole a blessing of potency from Orsur. She was like, use that to help you escape. So like that's the only thing. I'm like, what is that? Like what is that going to help him do? So I still don't even know what it is.
well, apparently all
because-
his guards
Yeah, go ahead.
have potency, which makes them stronger, faster, like better physical aspects. So almost like a pewter arm, you know, would in allomancy.
Okay.
Yes. So whenever, because potency is not the only blessing they can have, right? Because
Right.
there was also, they mentioned blessing of awareness or something like that, which
That's
made it
the
seem
one that
like,
TenSoon has.
I was like, that makes it seem like 10, like a 10 eye. And I was like,
Right.
are these different metals? And TenSoon mentions specifically that he can see the blessing in his guards. He can see the blessing of potency, like sticking out of their shoulder or whatever, but he can see them sparkle or something. I was like, this
It's like they have
seems
an
like
aura or
hemalurgy.
something.
A good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I was like, this seems like, so I guess in a way it's kind of like a prediction maybe, but if it's something that is like visible and is sticking out of them, that seems like an Inquisitor spike. It may not be an Inquisitor
yeah.
spike, but some kind of different form of hemalurgy maybe. So I don't, that's what it kind of made me think of. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what else may come of that.
Okay, but question to that then, if that's what that is, if it is the spikes that are giving them these blessings or whatever, then how did Milan or whatever know that, or I guess like he would have had a spike on him to be able to still have Orsor's blessing of potency, right? And he didn't have a body when he was there, and so like he didn't, like, does that make sense?
Are you
Like,
asking like why
if it
he
is a
doesn't still
spike-
have potency?
No, he still had it because he used it. He used it to escape at the very end. But if it
No,
is a spike,
he explained to Milan he didn't have his blessing anymore. Like he has his own blessing now because it's his. But when he killed Orosor, he ingested the body that he was wearing, and I think that's how he had potency. But then once he switched to the dog bones, he no longer had Orosor's potency.
okay, I
But the
thought
dog
that
bones, when he put them back on, it's like the physiology of the dog bones that
Right, yes.
gave him the strength, the speed, the power to be able to escape.
right, I did
Not
get that
necessarily
part.
a blessing.
Yeah. I thought that there was a sentence in that last chapter that said he used it. So that's why I was like, if he still had it, then he would have had to have a spike to kind of go with your theory, Ethan. I thought there was a sentence that said that. I'd have to go back and read it.
Maybe I missed
No.
it, but that was how I understood it. Is that the dog physicality is what gave him the
Is the only
like,
thing that gave me the
attributes
advantage
to
there.
be able to escape. Yeah.
Okay. Who knows?
But anyway, so I just thought that's what made me think of that. I was like, okay, he can see the blessing and he can see it like sparkle or something like that. I was like, maybe it's a glint, off of a metal spike or something. That's the sparkle. Anyway, so that was my second point. TenSoon. He's gonna make it back to my character moments later.
Okay.
Okay, so with these epigraphs, this is my third point. Question. I know I mentioned Vin being the hero of ages, but please do not mistake that as me solely claiming she's the hero of ages, because
Okay.
especially after discussing last week, this question is still very much in the air, up in the air. TenSoon regularly refers to Vin as the hero of ages, but would we have 3 large books like this if it were that obvious? She's our main character. She's been our main character from the beginning, and this is the 3rd large book in this series or this trilogy. It's like, I don't know. So possibly yes, but possibly no. My other suspects, though, are, and I think this is probably purposeful, my other suspects are the other voices that we hear in the other POVs. Sazed, Spook, Elend, and even Marsh. I put him in that category as well. So, also, question here, could there be a combined hero? If everything is going to require balance, would one hero make sense? What do y'all think?
Well, this goes into my theory, so I don't want to talk about it
Oh,
yet.
okay. Well, we don't. Yeah, don't
No,
talk about it.
Okay.
But I think that it has some merit because I'm thinking that too, that it cannot be Vin. And I think I talked about it in the Well of Ascension where I said Vin is too easy of an answer. Like, how she started
the
hearing
obvious
like
answer.
right, like she started hearing the calling to the well, and that she felt like she was fulfilling this prophecy. Like, I'm like, she's too much of an easy answer for her to be the hero of ages. That's why I started thinking Elend, right?
Mhm.
And then, the whole balance thing too. Like I agree with you on that one too. Like there has to be two things going here because that's what this whole theme of the book has been about, especially with the metals and now being introduced to preservation. And I like the idea of where you're going with Marsh though, because Marsh, like in the very beginning when I was reading his chapter about wanting to kill himself to be free of preservation, right, or of ruin.
Run.
Then later he talks about like wanting to act against him, but he has to be very careful. I'm like, I think he is going to act against ruin. It's just going to take very careful planning on his part. So I'm like, he could be a major player in that too. So I think it's easy to say it could be any of them.
Jury's out.
So basically, I agree with you, Ethan.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah. But those are my three things. So good.
Yeah.
It had a lot. So one of them has to do with TenSoon. My first point has to do with TenSoon. And I kind of figured we were going to talk a lot about the kandra in this section because like there was just so much that happened with him. And there are so many little like tidbits that were released in the conversations that TenSoon was having with Malin or even just to himself, right? So in chapter 20, while TenSoon was sitting in his cage, there was something that he said that confirms what Ethan said in our previous episode. So TenSoon thought to himself, what happened above? Did Vin go to the Well of Ascension? What of ruin and preservation? The gods of the kandra people were at war again, and the only ones who knew of them were pretending that nothing was happening. So I started thinking about the Mist Spirit and what Ethan said about the Mist Spirit. Because remember you said like, could it have been two different spirits where like one of them stabbed Elend and one of them helped Elend live? So like the one who stabbed Elend could be ruin and the one who helped Elend become Mistborn could be preservation, right? So that's what that made me think of was the Mist Spirit. And then the other thing that TenSoon mentioned was about how the kandra are originally mist wraiths. So like they went from mist wraiths and became kandras. I'm like, did we know this before? Is this also new information? Like this is new information, right?
Yeah. I think this is where that piece of it was revealed. Is how the kandra are made.
So whatever mist spirit that seems to be following Vin around, like could it be a friendly kandra trying to help her? I don't know. And my other big question is if the kandra know about ruin and preservation, then why are they refusing to freaking help? Why are they trying to cover up what TenSoon knows and trying to cover up with his death? Like, why aren't they helping?
That is the $1 million question. Why don't they want to accept what TenSoon is saying?
Yes. I mean, obviously he knows about these two gods, right? Like he knows what they are. So like, that is going to help the Kelsier group out a lot. So like, why are we not? Anyways, that just really stood out to me. The fact that they knew what preservation and ruin are, and the fact that they are originally mist wraiths. So like, there has to be something with the mist spirits that have to be tied to the kandra. What do y'all think?
I champion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it just, that is the $1 million question. Why aren't they helping? But also, I initially thought, like, well, they just want their heads in the sand. Like, they don't want to accept that this is happening. And
that the end
it
is
all
nigh.
hinges. Yeah, it all hinges on the idea that I think you're going to hit on later with the kandra. And I won't bring it up just yet, but there's this big looming thing ahead that, that TenSoon says, like, pretty much the time is here, and it's going to result in this. That end game for the kandra, I feel like, is going to be vital here,
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
So that was my first point. My second one is just about Vin carrying the weight of saving the world on her own. That really stood out to me this time around as I was reading these chapters. In chapter 21, Vin's thinking about ruin, and she was just like asking herself, like, what is she missing? What more can she research to try and find the answers? She's feeling really guilty about releasing ruin. And once again, she starts carrying this heavy weight of feeling like she needs to save everyone. That's a lot of what was happening in book 2. But the only difference in book 2 between book 2 and 3 is that like in book 2, she still had a lot of identity issues, right? Like she couldn't accept who she was. Now she's more sure of herself. And so like, I'm hoping that that's what's going to help her lead to more answers, is like the fact that she's more confident in herself. But she starts to put her little thinking cap on here, and and since like she can't share her thoughts aloud or like in writing for fear of ruin finding out, like she has to keep everything to herself. And I just feel for her on that. But I do love that like whole interaction between her and Ellen, when she was just like, you're just gonna have to trust me. I can't tell you. You're just gonna have to trust me. And he was like, okay, you have it. You have my trust. I was like, I love him so.
He's so great.
I know. But there's two little quotes that I wanted to bring up. The first one was when she was talking about like reading and stuff. She goes, and she still found reading and scholarship to be stuffy and boring, but she was also becoming more and more comfortable with the idea of doing what was necessary, no matter how distasteful. I have to do it. There's a puzzle here, something to be solved. All right, I'll begin like Kelsier did by listing the things that I know for certain. So she starts listing out things about ruin, things that she knows, she's doing her homework here. And then in chapter 27, she has another like realization. She says, once she had been terrified of change, then she had been terrified of losing Elend. Now her fears were more nebulous, worries of what would come after she was gone, worries of what would happen to the people of the Empire if she failed to divine the secret she sought. And I'm just like, this poor girl, like, I feel so bad for her. Like these are her constant thoughts that she has to think about. It's like, if she fails, then the world is gone, Yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
No.
This poor girl. I just want to give her a hug.
It's too much for one person.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like, even if she wanted to share this burden, she can't, because then Ruin would find out.
Right. It would be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has to do it on her own.
Well, she's not alone. She's got Elend, and Elend trusts her. So
yeah, true. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was so cool though, too, like how freely that trust was given. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was like, that's such a breath of fresh air. I love that.
I know. I love them so much.
They're just perfect.
I know they are. Okay, so my third point is, I feel like I'm missing something, or I feel like this point is dumb. So if it is, y'all tell me if it's dumb, okay?
Okay.
It's dumb.
Okay, I know. So at one point, and I'm pretty sure I thought we were talking about this in our last episode, but wasn't it suggested that one way to like help the people survive what's happening with the ash is to try and discover like new plants and crops that can survive without sunlight and water? Like that was suggested, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not making that up. Okay, cool.
No.
You are not making that up.
Okay. It's hard to keep up with when you're reading so many books at the same time. Okay. So in chapter 18, when Sazed went to the pit to go visit with the terrorist refugees, like there was a moment where he thought that the terrorist people were living easier lives. And this is what the line read. It said, as Sazed walked down the hillside, he could see people brushing away the ash from the ground, letting the natural plant life poke through to provide grazing for the animals. The scrub that formed the dominant foliage and the central dominance was a resilient, hardy group of plants adapted to ash and didn't need as much water as farm crops. That means that terraced people now had relatively easy lives. Am I crazy, or is this the solution that they've been looking for?
I don't think you're crazy.
Okay. I'm like, is this overlooked? Like,
yeah, no, it's a good point, because like, you're right. This seems like a system that obviously works for the terroristmen, and then like gives them the opportunity to not only feed but also regenerate that food that they're
right.
Yeah, so it seems obvious, but I think the problem is also that not only is the ash increasing, but it's like accelerating in its increase. You know what I'm saying? So like eventually that won't even work.
Okay. Because I'm like, if it's saying that it's adapted to, to ash and didn't need as much water as farm crops, like to me, that's the plant and resources they've been looking for. So why aren't the terrorist people sharing this information? Yeah. So that's why I was like, am I crazy? Like, is this not the answer they were looking for?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if they've even like suggested working with the terrorist people to figure something out.
But why wouldn't they?
But I know, like, I don't know.
It seems like a missed opportunity, but
totally.
Yeah, I also get the sense too that I think the terrorist people are kind of in the dark about a lot of the things that are actually happening. That seems to be a common theme with each new area that we're going to. No one really knows how bad the mist is getting unless they're being affected by the mist directly.
Gotcha.
Right.
And the ash, the same thing, right? The ash is piling up in certain areas, but in other areas, like where they travel by canal, that's not as big of a deal because there's not running water there, so it may go unnoticed for longer.
True.
But yeah, I thought the same thing. So no, it's not stupid.
Okay.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, because that stuck out to me too. I was like, oh, well, that seems to be working. Can that be a solution?
Yeah.
Because other than that, in that section, what else did we get out of that section? Because it didn't really seem to serve a purpose, really, because Sazed didn't change anything or have any kind of introspective thought that was out of the usual.
You remember that later on during his visit, he asked them about the day mists and if anybody's getting sick. And for some reason, the Terracemen don't get sick with the day mist.
I do remember that.
That's right. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. And I think I even marked that down as something I wanted to talk about, and it didn't put it down because there's not that many
There's just too
bullet
much.
points. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep these episodes within reason.
Yeah.
lengthwise.
Not 5 hours long.
I did definitely catch that they're the only ones who are not being affected by the mist. It could be because of the Furukami.
Who knows?
I know.
Just jot that down on your notes.
I tend to agree with you there, though.
You think it's also
That
the Furukami?
Furukami is like by nature, because by nature we know that allomancy is of preservation and hemalurgy is of ruin. What is Furukami?
Yeah, true. True. Yeah.
Does that have something to do with it?
Is there a third here? Is there a third god we're missing?
I don't know.
Not enter another god halfway through. Like, we're almost done with this book. Actually, no, we're not.
I know,
almost done.
right?
We're like 60% more to go.
Yeah. We'll get there. But yeah, great point. I don't know why they haven't tried that kind of system. Like, they're just desperately trying to grow plants in like less and less space, and it's just inevitably not going to work. But
not for a long term, of course.
Yeah, it's not a long-term solution.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first point is about Spook and him suddenly hearing Kelsier in his head. So in chapter 19, he wakes up hearing Kelsier's voice, and he helped him find the pewter that he needed to escape the burning house. I mean, just what do we think? Like, is it actually Kelsier he's hearing, or what is it?
I don't think it's Kelsier. Honestly, like, this was one of my points that I wanted to bring up too, and I was just like, I'm so glad somebody's bringing it up because I wanted to talk about it. When I read it, I'm like, there's no way. Like, this dude is dead. We saw him die. Like, everybody
we know he's
saw
not a
him
god.
Die.
Yeah,
And we know he's not a god. And Orsor ate his body, so like, there's no way of him even being resurrected either.
Right.
So he's dead. I don't think it's Kelsier. I at first thought it was hallucination. Because it wasn't a hallucination. I was like, but it has to be. That's the only explanation for that. Like, it's not Kelsier.
Yeah, no, I did not think this was Kelsier either. And at first I was like, well, this is the first savant we're getting. Does it have something to do with that? Maybe he's tapped into something as being, because even in one of the epigraphs where we get a tin savant mention, it says 10 savants are different than other types of savants. So like, does that have something to do with it? Is that why, with the pewter now, I don't know. He's very interesting.
So one of the other things that I had written down that I wanted to bring up, of course it didn't make it into the list, was that he lost all his normal senses when he didn't have 10, right? So like, does that play into this where it's like, now that he didn't have the 10, he didn't have all his normal senses. So I still go back to hallucination. Like, he's
maybe
hallucinating,
it wakes up a sixth sense,
maybe
if you don't have 10 to burn.
Yeah. I mean, because he's like a heavy follower of Kelsier. Like, he believes in him. I mean, like, he loves Kelsier. So like,
he looks up to him more like he would an idol,
So maybe he just like manifested this to help him. Like, it was it was Spook all along that got himself out of this. He just used that to help him mentally get through this. Like, that's what I think. I mean, sometimes when you're stuck in really tough situations, like, you know, you want to think about the people that you look up to help you through these difficult situations. Like, what would they do?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What would my hero do? Right. And so, like, Spook got himself out of this. And I think he was just manifesting Kelsier in that way. That's what I think. I don't know. It could be a load of bull. Who knows?
Could be.
That sounds plausible.
It all does, doesn't it?
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. I have some other plausible thoughts to offer on Spook, but he's one of my points, so I'm going to save that one for later.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, my second thing was this number, 16%. So yeah, they came up with this number in chapter 19 after exposing, you know, the army to the mist. And so I guess my question here is there some sort of significance to the number 16? Or is it more important that it's just the same number every time, regardless what that number is? What do y'all think?
I think it's the same. I think it's more important that it's just always the same percentage. So like when Vin was thinking about, when she put her little thinking cap on and she was like, okay, I got to figure this out. She said, there are always a set of rules for everything, right? There's always consequences to actions. So then she started like trying to apply that same reasoning to what was happening with the 16%. And she even thought, she was like, at first, I'm making no sense, but I'm just babbling everything into my head. At first, she was talking about Ruin, and she was like, I thought Ruin and the mist were connected, right? Because she thought that the mist and the deepness were the same thing. And so she's like, but that's not confirmed. That has never been confirmed. What are they separate things? Like, why are the mist only killing a certain percentage of the population? I have no answer for you. I'm just like throwing out all the things that like I'm trying to connect it with. But like, I think it really stuck out to me what she said was like, everything has a set of rules. So like, what are the rules here? Like, what is this mist getting by taking the same percentage each time?
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Ethan?
This percentage threw me off. It threw me off. Yeah. Because I was like,
it's a
how
weird
random.
Number, right? Yeah.
Yeah, how random. 16%. So the first thing I thought of is that I would be interested to see if that number increases. Because if over time it increases, maybe that's just an indication that Ruin is getting stronger and he's getting closer to what he needs to do to act solo.
But are we sure that Ruin and Mist are the same thing?
No, we're not. The other thing is, well, I was like, there's only one other thing that's mentioned in percentages in my brain as far as the story goes. And the only other percentage that's mentioned is of mixing metals to burn the appropriate metal.
Right.
And I was like, is some threshold needing to be met that 16% just works for some entity out there? Like, is that why they need that? I don't know.
Because,
but yeah.
It doesn't
I don't know if I'm just like really grasping at straws here because 16% just threw me way off.
No, I think that's a really good connection because it doesn't matter the total number of people, you know, it just matters that it's just 16% of those people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that idea of the connection with the metals. Like that's true. Like you have to have a certain percentage to be able to get certain effects out of it, right?
Yeah, to get the different, not compounds. What is the word I'm thinking of the different metals? Alloys. Yeah. Interesting.
That was a big question too. That was another question I had. I was like, what is up with the 16%?
Yeah, what does that mean? Okay, and then my last thing, this is coming back around to TenSoon and what he said to the first generation. So in chapter 33, during his sentencing, he spoke directly to the first generation. And this was his quote. He said, "The days of mist have come. The endless ash now falls. The earth shakes and trembles. You can condemn me, but you must not ignore me. The world will soon die. If you want people in all of their forms to survive, you must act. You must be ready, for you may soon need to command our people to accept the resolution capitalized." Then someone from the first generation responded not to TenSoon, but he spoke to Kampar and he said, "Proceed, Kampar," ignoring what TenSoon had just said about the resolution. So again, we've already talked about how it seems like the first generation and also the seconds are trying to just keep their heads in the sand about what TenSoon is trying to tell them. What do y'all think the resolution is, and why do they insist on ignoring TenSoon?
I don't know. I mean, do we think the resolution is just the end of the world? Like we have to accept that the world is going to cease from existing? Is that what that means? I don't know. Okay, sorry, I had a dark thought the other night.
Okay.
Literally was thinking about the Hero of Ages as I'm trying to sleep. Like this is what happens in my brain. I was thinking like we started off with the bad guy already won in book 1 and the final empire, right? And then in book
Or
2,
who we thought was the bad guy.
Right. But they were all, these people were oppressed. So like it's the bad guy.
Still bad. Yeah.
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 And then in the second one, a lot of bad stuff happened. And then it still ended on a bad note. So it's like, it doesn't seem to be getting better. I don't think that there's a happy ending to this book.
Okay.
I really do think that the end of the world really is coming and there's nothing anybody can do to that. That was a thought I had before I came up with the theory that I had. But that's the thought I had. So I'm like, is this what the resolution is, where you just have to accept that the end is coming?
Are you thinking maybe it means like, yeah, we're just gonna like wipe the slate clean?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yes.
And then we're just gonna start
Try it
over.
again.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's
Ethan?
fair, especially knowing that there's a second era to the story.
Right.
You know? But
It's just a dark theme. I'm just going with the dark theme that we've had in the past 2 books, you know?
Yeah.
yeah. There was mention earlier in this book that the kandra will reach a time in which they all have to like commit mass suicide, it seemed.
I remember that, yes.
Okay, so that's what I thought the resolution was. I don't know. I don't think that that's been confirmed. But if that is what the resolution is, it would make sense that Kanpar and the first generation don't want it to happen.
Right.
And so they would put their heads in the sand even further.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that's what it made me think of the resolution, but I don't think that that's been confirmed that those are the two same things.
Well, it
Yeah, it
was
hasn't.
written. It was written in the first contract because remember, you know, there's a whole epigraph on the first contract, and it was
Right.
talking about the mass suicide that you're talking about, Ethan. So like the fact that they're trying so hard to like put this blame on TenSoon for breaking contract, like, or not honoring the first contract or something, like it could be that they are connected. I mean, that does make sense.
Yep.
Yeah. It hasn't been confirmed, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah. They're
Sheesh.
clearly trying to cover something up here, something major,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, those are my
Great.
3 things. So next we're going to hop into our 2 character moments. So Ethan, why don't you start us off?
Yay. And that segues really well because my first character moment is
good.
over TenSoon.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
I even wrote it down. TenSoon, you crafty bastard. He's picked some things up in the outside world while he's been away all these years, crafting things in such a way that his captors do exactly what he wanted them to do by giving him his wolfhound body back. He had no intention of staying there in the homeland after he said his piece, and he just hoped that it would work, that they would give him his bones back. And they did. It sucks that it cost him a year to do that, but now that that's all done with, I need you to get back to Vin ASAP TenSoon, because I think you have some vital information that you need to deliver.
Yes.
And I can't wait to find out what it is.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But in the meantime, here's a question that I have. I'm going off the premise that the blessings are of hemalurgy,
Okay.
and that it affects them similarly to how spikes affect inquisitors.
Okay.
If that's true, does the same hold true for the Koloss, since the Koloss and kandra are cousins? Or maybe do Koloss operate in the way that Allomancers operate? Can they burn metals? If kandra can use spikes and blessings, can Koloss use allomancy? I don't. Those were just some random musings I had. That's what kept me up at night.
Another thing to add to that is like, remember we talked about how the kandra are of preservation. So for like following the same thread, that would mean the Kalos are of preservation, right?
Because
Are they the
Or are
balance
they
to
of
the
ruin
kandra?
for the balance?
Okay.
But then if the kandra are preservation, then wouldn't they be allomancers?
But even within that, they have a balanced thing, right? Like
Yeah, but you said
they're
allomancers are of preservation and hemorrhagy is of ruin. So if we're thinking that kandra use hemorrhagy, then that would make them of ruin.
what I'm saying. Yes, that is true. But yes, even
Is
within
it
the kandra,
preservation's
can they
form
also
of-
have balance? Like because if they can use hemalurgy, that's why I would say Kolos could use allomancy to balance those contradictions out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or can they use both?
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
So yeah, just random thoughts.
I feel
Those
like-
questions could not be important at all.
I feel like human knows a lot more than what he's letting on as well. Human,
Yeah.
the Kolos, you know? And I think anytime that he's like tells Vin that we're the same, maybe he's telling her that they're both allomancers and that they both can burn metal,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe
So
it's more true than she realizes that they are the
maybe
same.
it's more literal. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, more literal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
'Cause
Yeah.
they're also still such a mystery with it. And like last time Vin was trying to figure out how they regenerate, you know, like
Yeah.
how does their population sustain itself? Because
do
they
you
just
make new
seem to
babies?
murder each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that she was trying to
Yeah.
ask that question. She's like, how do you have new Kolos? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little ones.
how do you get babies?
Yeah.
Because there's no women in their camp. Like, it's just all men.
Yeah, how are they made?
So how do
And
you
so,
have
like,
new ones?
On the kandra side, now we know that they come from mist wraiths. So like where are the Kolos coming from?
Yeah. Hopefully these
Yeah.
next few chapters will give us more on the Kolos.
All right. So my second character was Spook. Okay. Why are we getting important backstory on him now? And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love the story. I think it's cute that Clubs is the one that took him in. But even Spook asks that all important question. Why? Why did Clubs do that? Is there some secondary motivation outside of, it's family and he wants to take care of his nephew? It's weird. Why is this happening now? And besides that, he's now seeing Kelsier. Okay.
Right.
Like we said earlier. So here's a possible prediction. I'm cheating a little bit.
Okay.
We've had a few throughout our conversation. So
Yeah,
we're good.
this
Yeah.
whole time I think we've been throwing some out in every point we discuss, so it's fine.
It's fine. So here's a possible prediction. During the scuffle he had in the last section, he was stabbed, right? Even
Yeah.
the patrons at the tavern that he went to try to get intel confirmed, because they were whispering under his breath because they recognized him,
Yeah.
that they saw him get ran through with the sword,
Right.
which means there was definitely presence of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he comes to, he notices something sticking out of his shoulder somewhere on his body. It's like a
Yeah.
spike. And when he goes to pull it out, that's when he hears Kelsier's voice and says, nope, don't do that. Don't touch it. And Kelsier refers to it as a blessing. Like, I blessed you with that, as we're creating, and it creates a little bit of a callback back to the kandra. There are blessings.
Yeah.
So my thinking is that some kind of accidental hemalurgy came into account here. That perhaps the sword that ran him through contained some kind of pewter, or maybe someone stuck it in him after the fact, because we don't
Okay.
know what happened in between him getting knocked
Right.
out and him being in the building. So I don't know, but I think that's maybe why he's able to burn pewter now.
Yeah. I mean, that would explain it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 'cause
like
I'm like,
how
how did-
else is he able to burn pewter?
Yeah.
There's no other way. He's not a pewter arm. He's a tenai. We know this.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
known this
Right.
since book 1. And he even said or thought to himself, you're either a misting with the ability to burn one metal,
One or all.
or
Or
you're a
all.
Mistborn and you can burn them all.
Yeah.
And he's definitely not a Mistborn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because he
That's-
tried to burn the other metals and they didn't
right,
work
he
for
even
him.
tested it out. So he's definitely not Mistborn. Interesting.
Well, when they made Elend and Mistborn, like there was a lot of foreshadowing leading up to him becoming that, where a lot of his like inner monologue was him talking about how weak he felt and how inefficient he felt and how he wished that, that Vin didn't always have to be the one to protect him. Like there was a lot leading
Right.
up to the fact that he did become Mistborn.
Mhm.
And so maybe this is just leading up to a big reveal for Spook,
For
like
Spook.
that
Yeah.
he has a bigger role to play than he thinks, because he talks
Mhm.
about how he ran away, and he talks about how like he wish he hadn't run away, and how his uncle died because of that. And so like
Yeah.
He
it's
feels inadequate.
and it's leading
Yeah.
up to another big reveal. Yeah. So
Mhm.
could be. I think you're
Yeah,
onto
that's a good
something,
point.
Ethan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 points.
Nice.
Okay. So my first one just makes my romance heart so happy. And this is when
Oh.
Vin and Elend had their little heart to heart in chapter 32 when they were finally dancing together.
Yay.
This is such a sweet moment. I was like
So
eating up this
cute.
entire thing. I fucking loved it so much. I was totally squealing and giggling reading this scene, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
y'all can imagine me sitting on my couch doing that, right? Because this is exactly what I was doing.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes.
I just love Ellen and Vin so much, y'all. Like, I think we've talked about this so many times, but I love them so much, and I'm so glad they're together. Okay, so first, Ellen asking Vin to finally dance, and just seeing how excited Vin was to dance with her man. Like, it was just so
Yeah.
sweet. Even Vin thought to herself, she said, "This is it. It's finally happening. I finally get to dance with him." I was like, "Get your moment, girl."
So cute.
And then Ellen pulling out a book in the middle of dancing. This was so funny and so Ellen. I just love
So
seeing some of
cute.
like Ellen's goofiness and like romantic heart come out, because
Yes.
he purposely chose the book that he was reading the night that they met. I was just like, Ellen,
I know
love
that
you.
was
Yeah, that's
very
so
sweet. I loved that.
Then
So sentimental.
right, it was I just love it. Then
Jen
after
is
having,
swooning.
I am swooning so hard, y'all. Then of course, after having such a sweet, sweet moment there, I love that the heart to heart they had with each other and just like really being real with each other. Especially Vin to Ellen. Like I loved it. So these were just a few things that Vin said to Ellen that really just stood out. The first one said, "You're just acting like yourself. That's a good thing." Ellen said, "My old self didn't make a good king." And Vin responds with, "The thing you learned about kingship didn't have to do with your personality, Ellen. They had to do with other things about confidence and decisiveness. You can have those things and still be yourself." And then something else she said later in the conversation, because they had like a long, like back-to-back conversation. And then
Yeah.
later on she says, "You have to realize that who you were is still a valid part of you. That person makes silly comments and does things merely to provoke a reaction. But he's also lovable and kind-hearted. You can't lose those things simply because you're emperor. You can be both Ellen the emperor and Ellen the man." I was just like, I feel like Ellen really needed that, because he was still having
Yeah.
such a hard time with all the decisions he was making. People were calling him the Lord Ruler, saying that he turned into him and calling him a
Yeah.
tyrant. And so like he was really struggling. And I'm just like, Ben knew that he needed that heart to heart. And I just absolutely ate up that whole freaking
I
moment.
know.
I just loved it.
Yeah. Well, I think it was poignant for him because he had just met up with his cousin at this ball who he hadn't seen for a couple of years, I think they said.
I think it was
And
his best friend, not his cousin, right?
yeah, they were cousins and friends.
Okay.
His cousin asked him about, like he marched an army of 40,000 soldiers to the city. And, for all intents and purposes, this city is living peacefully.
Yeah.
And so it looks like, a violent attack out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so Elend was, he defended himself, and I think he did well in that conversation on like why he showed up like that to the city.
Yeah.
And but you're right, Jen, he like still internally, even though like now that he's a great leader, he doesn't show it outwardly, but Vin of course can clock it immediately.
Yeah.
He was struggling with that because
Yeah.
this is now the second person who has called him the Lord Ruler, like you said.
Yeah.
And so it was great to see them both there for each other in that moment.
Yeah. I loved it.
Yes, I loved this moment. And let me tell you, this moment was a payoff because
Yeah.
up until this point, we had to read 10 pages of slog of inner monologue between Elend and himself and Vin and
Yeah.
herself. And we had to wait 3 books.
Mm-hmm.
3 books just for Vin to finally admit to herself that she likes going to parties.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay? I could not
To
believe
finally
it.
accept
But
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but to finally get to this scene, it was well worth the read because this scene was just so adorable, and I was just so terrified that something bad was about to happen.
Yeah. Me too.
Because it was too sweet for this.
Yeah.
You're
But
like,
I'm
wait,
happy
this is
that
too good to
nothing
be
happened.
true.
Yeah.
The world is ending. Let's not forget.
I love how like she freaked out. She's like, oh, wait, I don't have a gown.
I know.
But it was a genius move on her part, honestly. Like, I love that she suggested, like, let's go crash this party. Like, he cannot do anything to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Which honestly leads me to my second point, my second character moment, which is Yeoman. Is that how you say his name? Yeoman?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Just when I thought I hated one character already, the citizen, like, here comes Yeoman. Like, this a-hole. I hated the whole interaction between Yeoman and Elend. And I feel like Elend, like, really, did a great job with that conversation, even though Yeoman was like, obviously hated him and obviously was trying to tear him down, right? But I also hated the fact that he was wearing an adium bead on his forehead. Like, he was like being arrogant about it. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like,
Right.
like, it's right here. What are you going to do
It's
about it?
here. Yeah.
And then throwing balls in the middle of the world ending, like, hello, wake up call. Like, what are you doing? He's more willing to let his people die than to have a real discussion with Elend. Like, a real discussion, not this discussion that happened at this ball, a real one. He needs to see the bigger picture here. You need to wake up, dude. We are not back in the Lord Ruler's time, and everybody is going to die if you don't do anything about that. And the thing is, he's fine with that. And that's not cool. How are his people not seeing that he's willing to sacrifice them all instead of actually trying to find a solution for them, right? Like, also, do we think he has the stash of adium? Like, what do we think?
I don't know. I want to believe it's there, and it seems like we're running out of book for it to not be there.
Right.
So I would say it probably is, but there's still that like lingering question in the back of my brain, like, what if it's not? Like, what are we going to do?
But here's my thing, too. Like, if it's not, then what was it that we need the adium for?
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like Mistborn used to pose like a great bigger threat than what they do now.
Right.
That's true.
So, I don't know.
But if anything, it's an enormous amount of very valuable substance that they
nobody
could use
has
to
money.
trade for. Well, yeah, that's true. But okay, so they're also saying that Yeoman, Vin, before they went to this ball, did some investigating and she met up with, what do they call them?
An informant.
An informant, yeah. I just want to call them gossips because that's basically what they are. But the informant
They
that
get
she
paid,
did meet
yeah.
with, yeah, gossips for money. Hey, can I apply?
I know.
But anyway, one of them said that he somehow has an enormous amount of wealth that no one knows where it comes from.
Yeah.
So like that's what made Vin think it's the adium. It has to be.
Yeah.
Because it's so valuable. And like no one seems to know where it is. And also remember, Kelsier destroyed the
pit.
pits of the pits where adium was produced.
Yeah.
So they can't produce it. It keeps dwindling in availability, and like he's got this bead on his head. Like all signs point to he has the adium, right?
Yeah.
But you're right, Jen. I don't know what value it would have when everybody's starving and dying.
Yeah. I do love that one moment, but when Yeoman was like, okay, so should I expect an attack tomorrow morning? And Elend goes, of course not. I'm going to wait till your soldiers starve. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, we're going to starve you out.
Yep.
And then
we're going to be smart about this, and then we'll attack you.
Yeah.
No big.
Go Elend. I love him so much.
Yeah. Well, okay. As you were talking about this, so I was thinking, we just talked about how the kandra are trying to keep their heads in the sand about what's actually happening to the world. And this felt like a parallel to that. Yeoman is trying to deny that the world is ending, even though like all signs point to the world is ending.
Yeah.
and he doesn't want to see the reality of things. And he's also
Right.
still a follower of the Lord Ruler who is dead. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah. 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 I can't wait to see how that all plays out because they have to
I
fight
know.
basically two different tyrants. Like here we have the citizen and we also have yeomen. Like,
I know.
how are they going to tackle that problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were my 2 points, you guys.
Great
Good
points all
stuff.
around. Okay, I also have 2 points or 2 character moments. So there were a couple of mine are about Sazed. Well, my first one is about Sazed, and it's a little bit of a long one, but essentially I noticed that there was a few moments throughout this section where Sazed was having these negative thoughts that were like almost trying to get him to lose hope and just kind of like give up. But he was actively resisting those feelings of hopelessness and forcing himself to act against it. So I just thought it was interesting. So the first one that came up was in chapter 22 when he was visiting the Terrorsmen at the pits. And there was a moment when he thought, this was after they asked him to stay with them. He said, he thought, he just wanted to hide somewhere where nobody would expect anything of him, where he wouldn't have to solve the problems of the world or even deal with his own religious crisis. Yet a little part of him, a spark from before, refused to simply give up. He would at least continue his research and would do what Elend and Vin asked him. It wasn't all he could do, and it wouldn't satisfy the Terrorsmen who sat here, looking at him with needful expressions. But for the moment, it was all Sazed could offer. To stay at the pits would be a surrender, he knew. He needed to keep moving, keep working. So that was the first moment where, like, obviously we know he's going through this crisis of faith after losing Tindwyl. And, like, it's very encouraging to see him recognize that in himself and, like, make himself, keep going. Like, you may not be able to give your best, but you can do something,
Yeah.
And then it came up again in chapter 31 after talking to Spook in Urtu, who had just told him that he believed that Kelsier was leading him. I don't think he told them that he was hearing Kelsier's voice,
that
but
he
he
was
was
there.
kind of alluding to, like, Kelsier is, somehow guiding me or us. And Sazed these days is a non-believer, so he like immediately shut that down. He was like, "You knew Kelsier. We knew Kelsier. He's no god. We know this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?" Just dismiss that. But afterwards, he was thinking to himself, "But the pernicious darkness Sazed felt inside him refused to be shaken away. It was more dangerous to him, he knew, than anything else he had faced while serving with the crew, because it made him feel he didn't care." And then he thought, "I must keep working," he decided, walking away from the meeting place, carefully sliding his portfolio off a nearby shelf. "I have to keep searching. I must not give up." So the first one, I was just like, good. He's like refusing to give in to, basically this depression and grief that he's going through. But the second time, I just almost noticed this like conflict in his head that's happening where, like, I mean, at his core, I think Sazed, like, what do I want to say? I guess he is like optimistic at his core.
He was very optimistic, yeah.
Or he was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's still like the part of him that is like continuing to push forward. But what do you guys think about this? I'm just like, I feel like there's something going on. And then there was one more, like at the very end of this chapter. He started to think about his work, reading through all of the religions that he's trying to find the truth in. At one point, he thought to himself, "It was all meaningless. Everything's ending anyway." No, Sazed thought, like, capital N-O, exclamation point. "I will find the answers. The religions didn't disappear completely. The keepers preserved them. There must be answers in one of them somewhere." So you know what I'm saying? It's like this back and forth where it's almost like this other, I don't know, force is trying to like make him more negative than he truly is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about this because I just kept thinking, like, this is Sazed still struggling with his grief. Like, that's what we saw in the very first 17 chapters. He's really struggling with wanting to do anything else besides looking for the answer, right? And so that's what I think is really pushing him here is the fact that he still hasn't found the answer. So he's not going to let himself give up. And that's the only thing that's motivating him right now is the fact that he needs to find this answer. That's what I thought. I didn't really think too much of it. I was just like, he's still grieving. He's still, you know, questioning everything, and he still hasn't found the answer. So.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how it kept on striking me as well until this chapter. I was like, there's a lot of emphasis here. Like, why? Because I picked up on the internal struggle too. Like, he does just the back and forth. And I was like, I don't know if it's maybe some outside force acting on him to seem more negative, but maybe it's just putting that struggle, like really making that front and center, because there just happens to coincide that there is an answer to actually find. Maybe there is an answer to find. And because up until now, I've just been assuming that he's just on his own path to, you know, heal from his grief. But then I was like, wait, this is the last book in this trilogy. Maybe there's more here. Like, maybe there actually is truth that he needs to find. It may not be what he's actually looking for, but he may stumble upon something on his way there. That's what I started thinking about after this chapter. I was like, there's something else here, I feel like.
Maybe it's the terrorist religion that's lost.
Ooh. Well, that was the first one that he like lost confidence in, because their prophecy is what led Vin to release Ruin again.
But he doesn't really know what the terrorist religion is because it's been lost for so many years, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe that is what he ends up stumbling
the true,
upon.
Unmanipulated version of it.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. I like that.
Yeah, so I just noticed it was like a stark contrast in his like thoughts over and over. So anyway, that's the first character moment, even though it was several moments. I cheated a little bit. And then my second one is coming back around to Vin and being the belle at the ball.
I love it.
I loved this. So this is before they had, you know, their dance finally. But so when they entered the ball, first they're crashing this ball. They did not get invited.
Love it.
They're an intruding force in the city, and they decided to just crash the ball. And when they entered together, and then they decided to like part ways and kind of divide and conquer. And so Vin immediately found like the queen bee. Like, she was able to pick out like, oh, there she is. She's the one with all her little minions surrounding her, and they're like at her beck and call. So she walked right up to them and just tore her down immediately. It was so good. I
loved it.
And like, it took nothing for all the little minions to like turn tail and then like ally up with Vin. I thought it was so good, you guys. I was trying to like put together some quotes, but I was going to end up like quoting the whole chapters.
It was too long. Yeah.
Chapter 30, if you want to go back, it was Vin at her best. Like, I ate it up. It was so good. And like, I can't remember if it was just before this or like just her thoughts while this was happening, where she was finally accepting like, you know what, actually, I did enjoy the balls. I'm excited to come to this ball and I'm good at this. Like, she actually did work her way up in society back in Luthadel the first time around. And now she's an empress. And, you know, she has come into her own. She has accepted her power. And it was so great to see. What about you guys? I could talk about this all night. This is great.
I know. I freaking love that moment. First of all, I love the way they literally just dropped in. Like,
yeah, it was so good. Yeah. Like, I can imagine it on a TV or something.
Yes, just like flying in, just dropped right in. Absolutely loved that. But I think that like, besides the whole Elend and Van moment of them dancing, this was my second favorite part, was her accepting herself and accepting both parts of herself. She's like, I can be the knife and I can be a noblewoman. Like, that was just such like a moment of relief. And I'm like, finally, okay, good.
Finally.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
But
it only took 3 books, but you know, whatever, we're here.
I know. Only 3 books. Didn't we in book 1, when we were first reading this, and she did start going to the parties and stuff like that, didn't we compare her to Regina George?
We did.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Because, well, actually, we compared her to the Lindsay Lohan character because she was like denying that she was full on plastic, but she was like, honey, you're plastic.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's what we were
true.
talking
She
about.
kept
Plastic,
saying
yeah.
that she
Yeah.
she wasn't enjoying the balls and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes. Okay. So how proud would the plastics be at this
Oh, for
moment where she
sure.
just
Yeah.
tears this lady down?
It was
And
amazing to
I
was
watch.
like,
Yeah.
oh, it was so great to read. I was like, yes, it's like she's in prison and she's picking out the biggest one.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
She went straight to her. She's
Yeah.
like, that's it.
Yeah, I loved this moment, probably more than the dance, but I did enjoy the dance as well.
Like,
That's
the
what
dance
so
was my
cute.
favorite.
But this moment, I was like, yes, she gets to, punch you with her words.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so
And
good.
didn't even let her get a word in. Like, that was the
Yeah.
best part about everything, too. She's like, no, mm-mm.
Yeah.
So great.
Loved it. Okay, you guys, that was my 2 character moments. So now we go to our favorite part, I think, of the discussion, our theory and or possibly both prediction. Ethan.
Okay, so I just have one. I don't have both. Okay.
Okay.
My prediction is that this Kelsier that Spook is seeing is actually Ruin.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
If hemalurgy is of Ruin, then it would make sense that Ruin blessed him with the pewter. Ruin or preservation. Let's throw that out there. Maybe it's preservation.
Okay.
But I would rule in favor more of Ruin because we're talking about hemalurgy.
Yeah.
But we know that Ruin can hear conversation, spoken word, and skew things that are written down that are not on steel. If Ruin happened to overhear the conversation that Spook and Dern had right before the scuffle, Ruin would know how Spook feels about Kelsier and could try to use that against him to maybe sow discord later on when he reunites with certain group members like he has with, Sazed and Breeze. Or maybe when he gets back with Vin and Elend. I don't know. That could be... This could be completely false, which it might be, because there's 1,000 different directions the story could go in.
Yeah.
But I was like, we know it's not Kelsier because of everything we've mentioned. The bones and, he died. So it has to be something because, to your point that you said earlier, Jen, he was not hallucinating.
Right.
So it has to be something.
Yeah.
And it could explain to why he heard his voice the second time around instead of actually seeing him. Maybe it requires more strength to do one or the other for Ruin. So, I don't know.
It could make sense, honestly, because we haven't really been focusing too much on what Ruin has been up to, right? All we know is that he's been controlling the Inquisitors, but let's be honest, he's probably doing a lot more than that. And this could be the first clue of many things that he's already been up to, and we just haven't caught it yet, right?
Yeah.
So that could make I champion.
Me too. It's a really good point. And it would explain, because like you said, we know it's not Kelsier, but we don't know the extent of Ruin's power. And so maybe it can manifest as like a trusted voice. Obviously, in Spook's case, he trusted and idolized Kelsier.
Yeah.
Maybe not as a god, but this.
He looked up to him a great deal.
Yeah, he looked
Yeah.
up to him, and so that would make sense. Why now, if he's hearing Kelsier's voice, he trusts it.
Yeah. That's a really
Cool.
great point. Love
That's
it.
a really good theory.
Yeah. Okay, so mine developed a little bit as we were talking earlier. So I'm gonna say what I said, what I put down here, and then I'll add the part that came to me as we were talking. So the epigraph in chapter 31 said, Rashek wore both black and white. I think he wanted to show that he was a duality, preservation and ruin. This was a lie. After all, he had touched only one of the powers, and in a very small way at that. Okay, so when Elend and Vin attend this ball, Vin is wearing black and Elend is wearing white, like always, right? I tend to take things a bit literal, so I'm taking this very literal as well, comparing this epigraph to what Vin and Elend were wearing. So, since
Yep.
Vin released Ruin and touched his power, she was wearing black, that sort of links her to Ruin. That's what I'm thinking. And
Okay.
I'm thinking that Elend, since he always wears white and is basically trying to save everyone from starvation here, is somehow linked to preservation. So is he somehow the key to their salvation? Like, I once thought that Elend was the hero of ages. Like, that was my thought back in book 2. This is somehow tied together, the notion of the hero of ages. And then what came to me as we were talking was that, you know, Ethan, you mentioned that maybe there are 2 heroes. So maybe it is Vin and Elend together, and they have to combine both to be the hero of ages, because we need a balance to everything, right? So if Vin is Ruin and if Elend is preservation, like them coming together to save the world could be a possibility.
Oh, they're the balance.
Right. They're the
They're the
balance
balance.
together.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a
They're yin and yang, literally.
Right,
Yes,
right.
literally. Yeah.
There was a whole emphasis on that couple in book 2. Like, they were like, even Sazed thought it for a moment. He was like, we have to save them. Remember? He was like, we have to save this couple. And
everybody agreed, like,
yeah,
they need to make it out of this.
right.
Yeah.
So them together could be the answer to this. I mean, we were talking about how, you know, in our last episode, Ethan mentioned Vin being the hero of ages and somehow being able to affect how the Mists act. Like, and, you know, Elend has the stronger power too. Like, he has the power like the original 9 Elementers did. So he's the stronger one of the 2. So, like, I still think Elend is still in the mix for the hero of ages. And I think it is Vin and Elend. That's just my theory.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm going off of the whole white and black thing, because Ellen's always wearing white, Vin's always wearing black, you know, like even when she's just wearing her trousers and stuff, she's always wearing black. So,
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. So
What do y'all think of that? Am I crazy?
I like
think
this
that's
idea.
really good. Yeah. Like
I like
the
this idea.
symbolism of the black and white, and, you know, the concept of balance. You know, maybe that's the piece that the Lord Ruler didn't have figured out, is like he only touched the power of Ruin, but he was trying to make it seem like he somehow held the balance inside of himself. But maybe that's not the way to go about, like, fixing the world. Obviously, he didn't fix the world. He did what he could. But, you know, maybe that's the key, like you said, is there has to be a balance, so there has to be one for each.
What were you going to say, Ethan?
So maybe, okay, well, now that you just said that, maybe maybe the mist is the same thing, and she had to release it, and he also had to become Mistborn. Maybe it is the same figure, and they did do both, because both needed to happen. So maybe it's not, she released this terrible thing into the world, and it's because of her that everyone's dying. It had to happen, and now let's fix it.
Right.
So interesting.
Okay.
No, I like this idea, because with the epigraphs, I've been assuming that, you know, Vin is the one because Elend is mentioned specifically. But what if it's more than one person writing the epigraphs? Or, you know, I don't know. But because the way that the epigraphs are written is not how Vin speaks.
Right. It's not. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the only thing that made me give pause to my Vin theory and still consider everyone else. But I like this idea. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good. It's really
So the whole end of the world happening was like my bleak idea when in the middle of the night. But then as I was writing my notes for our episode today, I was like, no, I think that there is going to be some kind of like solution to all this, and this could be it. I don't know. It's still not going to be pretty, and it's still not going to be the happy ending that I'm sure we're hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Very good theories, you guys.
yeah,
I love it.
Can't wait to see if it comes true or not.
We'll see.
And if it didn't happen this way, Brandon Sanderson needs to rewrite it, okay?
He didn't write it right. No, God.
No, he's doing a great job.
Telling
Like
you guys
he's keeping me on my toes
Yes.
about this.
Yeah.
Like
Which I
The
love.
ending of this
Yes.
book. I can't wait. I can't wait. But before that, I am bringing a question to the table again, because
Okay.
I don't want to steer you guys with any theories or predictions, because obviously I've already read it. So my question today is, so the more we learn about the Lord Ruler after his death, the more complicated he becomes. So at this point, knowing now what we know, do you view him as more of a villain or a misunderstood protector, or something in between?
I still see him as a villain. To me,
Okay.
a lot of his actions were very selfish, very power hungry. Even though he tried to right his wrongs, he still kept messing up, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, he probably did cause a domino effect, like you said at the last episode, Stephanie, where it's like you try to fix one thing and then they messed up that thing, and then you try to fix this thing and it messed up that thing, right? So, like, I still think he's very much a villain. You know, he obviously oppresses people the way that he did. Even if it was what people were saying, like it gave people structure and it gave people purpose,
Stability.
like it wasn't the right way to do that. Like, you don't oppress
Yeah.
people for the good of the people, right? And I still think he was very selfish in his actions, keeping all the power to himself, just being power hungry.
Yeah. Even if he had the best intentions of when he took the power and the ascension and all that, even if he had the best intentions, I would still categorize him as villainous. Just because he could have started his reign as Elend is now, wanting to be more, not tyrannical, but to have that more authoritarian saying, this is how it is for now because we're in a time of crisis. And then he could have changed it later on.
But he didn't.
You're telling me you had 1,000-year reign, and within that time you didn't think to yourself, things are pretty bad. I wonder how I can improve upon it since, I have all the power.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
exactly.
I know, and like you said, the domino effect, I know that that's true, but 1,000 years is a long time.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wanted to keep everything the same for 1,000 years. Like, what kind of life is that for people to live?
Right. There was even an epigraph that
how
mentioned
bored must he have been?
even technology was kind of suppressed during this time, or like advancements in
Which I thought was
technology.
highly interesting.
It was interesting. Yeah.
We live in a culture of change, you guys. Like, we accept change.
Yeah. I think I would agree with you guys. Like, I think he thought he was doing the right thing, and obviously no one would call themselves a villain or outright be like, I'm gonna go be a villain today.
I mean, some people would.
Well, maybe. Yeah. Can't relate. But
Good.
Love it.
yeah. But, I think, in his own twisted way, he thought he was doing the right thing by the people of the world. But I agree with you guys. Even though he was doing his best, allegedly, like, there was really no reason to create this like caste system of nobility and ska,
Exactly.
and like basically make the ska slaves. What purpose did that have
Right.
for the greater good,
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you guys. He's still more villainous, but I think he does have some very tiny redeeming qualities now that we know more.
Ever so slight.
Yeah,
I don't think so, but
they're
again,
microscopic. We need some assistance to see them.
All right. Okay, book friends, that was the end of our second deep dive on The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. Let's keep the discussion going, please, because we could talk about this all day long.
Yes.
We are Books Between Friends pod on all platforms. Thank you for interacting with us in our socials, and we look forward to chatting with you all about this book.
yes. And on our next episode, the clues are finally starting to come together, but every answer seems to raise even more questions. Join us
So many
next
questions.
time as we dive into chapters 34 through 50 of The Hero of Ages, where secrets are uncovered, tensions rise, and the fate of the world grows even more uncertain.
That's a wrap for Books Between Friends today. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next chapter.